Hey guys, so we're going to be learning about moral of the story as we read some Dr. Seuss this week. So I wanted to go over what the moral of a story is, and I wanted to tell you about what that means when I ask you to find the moral of the story. So we're going to read a Dr. Seuss book together, and then we're going to find the moral of the story together. You're going to have to do this 4 times this week on your own. So that's why we're going to do it together first, okay? So we're going to read Gertrude McFuzz. There we go. Now you can see it. So we're going to read this together. Okay? There once was a girl bird named Gertrude McFuzz. She had the smallest plain tail there ever was, one droopy droop feather. That's all that she had. And oh, that one feather made Gertrude so sad. For there was another young bird that she knew, a fancy young birdie named Lola Loo, and instead of one feather behind, she had two. Poor Gertrude! Whenever she happened to spy Miss Lola Loo flying by in the sky, she got very jealous. She frowned and she pouted. And then one day she got awfully mad and she shouted, "This just isn't fair. I have one. She has two. I must have a tail just like Lola Loo." So she flew to her uncle, a doctor named Dake, whose office was high in a tree by a lake. And she cried, "Uncle Doctor, oh please, do you know of some kind of pill that will make my poor tail grow?" "Tut, tut," said the doctor, "such talk, how absurd. Your tail is just right for your kind of bird." Then Gertrude had tantrums. She raised such a din that finally her uncle, the doctor, just gave in, and he told her just where she could find such a pill. On a pillberry vine at the top of the hill. "Oh, thank you," chirped Gertrude McFuzz, and she flew right straight to the hill where the pillberries grew. Yes, there was the vine, and as soon as she saw it, she plucked off a berry. She started to gnaw it. It tasted just awful. It about made her sick. But she wanted that tail, so she swallowed it quick. Then she felt something happen. She felt a small twitch, as if she'd been tapped down behind by a switch. And Gertrude looked round, and she cheered. It was two. It was two feathers, exactly like Lola Loo. Then she got an idea. "Now I know what I'll do. I'll grow a tail better than Lola Loo. These pills that grow feathers, they're working just fine." So she nibbled another one right off the vine. Okay, so when we're talking about moral of the story, we started out with Gertrude, and she's very upset. She's jealous. Now she's doing things to get a tail like Lola Loo. And she figured out that one berry made her grow another tail, and she's about to eat some more. Let's see what happens when she keeps on eating. She felt a new twitch, and then Gertrude yelled, "Wee! Miss Lola only has two, but now I have three. When Lola Loo sees this beautiful stuff, she'll fall right down flat on her face, sure enough. And I'll show her who's pretty, I certainly will. Well, I'll make my tail even prettier still." She snatched at those berries that grew on the vine. She gobbled down 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And then she didn't stop eating, young Gertrude McFuzz, till she'd eaten 3 dozen. And that's all there was. She's getting kind of greedy, don't you think? The feathers popped out with a zang and a zing. They blossomed like flowers that bloom in the spring, all fit for a queen. What a sight to behold! They sparkled like diamonds and gumdrops and gold, like silk, like spaghetti, like satin, like lace. They burst out like rockets all over the place. They waved in the air and they swished in the breeze, and some were as long as the branches of trees, and still they kept growing. They popped and they popped until long after sundown, when they finally stopped. "And now," giggled Gertrude, "the next thing I'll do is fly straight home and show Lola Loo. And when Lola sees these, well, her face, it'll get red, and she'll let out a scream, and then she'll fall right down dead." Oh, Gertrude's gonna murder? I don't know. Then she spread out her wings to take off from the ground, but with all those feathers, she weighed 90 pounds. She yanked and she pulled and she let out a squawk, but that bird couldn't fly, couldn't run, couldn't walk. And all through the night she was stuck on that hill, and Gertrude McFuzz might be stuck up there still, if her good Uncle Dake hadn't heard the girl yelp and rushed to her rescue and brought some help. So she kept eating, and her feathers kept getting more and more and more. But that turned out to be an issue, didn't it? It turned out to be a problem. To lift Gertrude almost broke their beaks, and to fly her back home took just about 2 weeks, and then almost another week more to pull out those feathers. Well, Gertrude was sore. And finally, when the pulling was done, Gertrude behind her again had just one, and one little feather she had as a starter. But that's enough, because now she's a lot smarter. Okay, so let's talk about the moral of the story here. The moral is what the author wants us to learn. So what do you think that we're supposed to learn from Gertrude? What do you think she learned? Well, she started with one, and she wasn't grateful. She was jealous. She wanted more and more and more. And she got more. And that was all fine and good until she kept wanting more. She kept wanting more and more feathers. And it turned out that's not what was good for her. That's not what was best for her. That wanting more can actually be dangerous. That sometimes when we're greedy, we don't end up coming out on top. Remember Pig the Pug? He was greedy. And that got him into trouble a lot of the time too, didn't it? You can't be greedy. You need to be happy with what you have. And that's what Dr. Seuss is trying to teach us through this story. That's the moral of this story. You need to be happy with what you have. The way we know that is because we listened to the story about Gertrude, and we thought about how she started off unhappy with what she had. Then she tried to make herself happy by getting more and more and being greedy. And then eventually at the end, she realized she should have just stuck with what she started with and not been greedy and upset and jealous. So the moral of the story here is just be happy with what you got. When you're reading these other stories, think about what the author wants you to learn and think about what the characters learn. It will really help you find the moral of the story. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.